Whether it's your baseball picks or your way too early football picks or your tennis picks, you got to pick them at Sports Interaction. Oh. That's right. It's Canada's sportsbook. Listen, before the game starts, live and play or how your favorite player will perform, doing it right since 1997, Sports Interaction is Canada's sportsbook with the most competitive odds. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all that sports betting has to offer. You head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. One more time, that's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Now, one of my favorite projection that you've made by far this year is you've kind of weighted the top 100 players. You and Craig Custance, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And of course, number one on that was not Connor McDavid. It was Auston Matthews.
As it should be.
Now,
and it went over well.
It went over extremely well. I'm sure in Edmonton, most of all. Can you, when the model spit that out, were you a little surprised?
No, like I look at my model every day. Anytime I input new data, I see what it does. And over the last year, it started liking McDavid a little bit less. And what that means is he's not overwhelmingly number one, according to the model. And the only reason for that is his defense, because if his defense was just average, he would be number one by like a win. It wouldn't be even close. He'd be in his own tier. That's where he was 2 years ago, but his defensive numbers have dropped a little to the point where it's now a conversation about who the best player in the league is. And it's probably still McDavid. He has the stronger resume. He is very exciting. He has all the talent in the world, but Matthews and McKinnon, they don't have those defensive question marks. They aren't as good offensively, but they have a more complete game right now. And the entire thing with the rankings that me and Craig did was that it wasn't a ranking, it was a tier. So usually when you see these top 50 rankings, it's like Cale Makar, number 20, Quinn Hughes, number 32. And it's like, is there really a difference between those two players? What does 22 mean? What does 30 mean? And that's sort of why we tiered it. We copied that idea from Seth Partnow, who did his NBA tiers as well. And it just makes more sense. And I know Steve does his prospect pyramid. And he's I see your face. I see your face. I don't think you invented tiers, but I'll give you credit.
I invented the pyramid too. Yeah. I was there thousands of years ago.
But it's the same basic concept where you're basically splitting hairs, and if someone likes a player more in one tier than another in the same tier, then you know what? That's a fine argument. I can see it. And if it's a player from one tier compared to one below, then we're fighting. That's basically it.
Dom, I know that you hate all 31 NHL teams, soon to be 32, and all of their fan bases. But if you have a model, well, sorry, not if you have, what has your model said? If anybody hasn't read it yet, and I know that you can check it out on The Athletic, but what has your model said about the best teams in the NHL this year? Who is tier one?
Tier one for the NHL is probably Colorado, Tampa, and Boston. They're probably going to win their divisions. It probably won't be very difficult for Colorado and Tampa Bay. I know Colorado lost on opening night, but they should be fine. That's probably the top three teams. And then you can make an argument for Toronto only because of their division, and the path should be easy. If they were in the Atlantic, they wouldn't be in that top tier, but because there's 5 other teams below them that are decent but flawed, and then also Ottawa, which is just a bad team, there's going to be... I don't know if you guys heard that. That was my dog.
Is your dog?
Yeah. Is your dog a Sens fan?
Maybe. I hope not. I didn't raise her that way.
So Toronto's path is a little bit easier because of the competition in their division.
Yeah, it's basically what Vegas has gone through the last 2 years, or maybe not. Maybe last year more so than 2 years, because before San Jose was at least good. But last year, Vegas had the same path Toronto has now, where they had Edmonton, Vancouver, and Calgary as their main contenders. And those teams are fine, but they're probably not contenders. They're probably just playoff teams. Right. And now Vegas has St. Louis and Colorado in their division. It's sort of like Toronto in years past with Tampa Bay and Boston ahead of them, where I think that tends to skew people's perception of the teams.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, so who do you think, and who's going to do the San Jose? Who's going to fall the hardest this year?
Washington. I've been saying that. I don't understand why people think this is still a contender, and I don't even think it's that hot of a take. I've talked to analysts with
also a Caps fan.
Maybe, yeah. I've talked to people with NHL data, and they also aren't high on the Caps either. I don't know if this is the year they collapse, but this is the year they're vulnerable, and they have a coach who's preaching north-south hockey, which is the opposite of what makes the Caps function. So it'll be interesting. I think a lot of people missed that last year their top six wasn't very good. They were all, I think, break even in terms of goals and shot share at 5-on-5. Their power play was below average for the first time in like a decade. So they're old and vulnerable. And that's my San Jose pick.
Wow. Well, Dom, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks so much for making time. We know this is podcast 5 out of 600. So thank you for making time for us today. And I know that this is like a really busy time for the season for you, but we will be checking in with you as the season goes on.